want to dive into another story, which is the exact opposite. And this is winning, baby. We are winning even more. SCOTUS came down with a major ruling today. This is absolutely bombshell stuff. So as we dive into this, please remember to share this with everybody that you know if you like the content. But basically, SCOTUS issued a ruling today which upholds a South Carolina law, a decision by South Carolina to defund Planned Parenthood from Medicare and Medicaid. This is absolutely amazing. Check this out.
Today, in the important case known as Medina versus Planned Parenthood, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that states have the right to defund Planned Parenthood. In this case, the state of South Carolina took this action through their Medicaid program. Southern Baptists value life and affirm that taxpayer funds should never be directed toward abortion providers like Planned Parenthood. And that is exactly what the brief that we filed before the court said. In light of the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe versus Wade, which allowed states to once again set policy about abortion, we applaud this creative thinking about how to protect life and combat the horrors of Planned Parenthood. With the dysfunction in Washington, we need more states taking proactive steps, just like we've seen in South Carolina. We all know that abortion isn't healthcare, and we know that Planned Parenthood is not an organization that's interested in saving lives. Our tax dollars shouldn't fund such heinous activity. Today's ruling provides a roadmap for states to ensure that that no longer happens. Please visit ERLC.
Absolutely amazing. So SCOTUS has weighed in because obviously as soon as South Carolina did this, they were sued by everybody, including Planned Parenthood, the ACLU, every left-wing Democrat organization you can think of. But SCOTUS has basically said, no. At a state level, they can absolutely deny Medicare and Medicaid and other government, even federal healthcare funds from organizations that are not considered protected classical health organizations. And Planned Parenthood is not one of them. Why? Because they obtain 30%, I believe it's 30+% of all of their revenue from pregnancy terminations. They are nothing more than pregnancy termination mills. And the other revenue that they get is essentially government funding. They really don't get paid for anything else. They get government funding and then they make revenue from pregnancy terminations. So now, because the states have realized, any states that's looking at it have realized, wait a minute, they're really in the business of pregnancy terminations. And so we don't have to sit here and allow them to operate because that's their primary revenue model. Everything else they do in terms of, premarital, health screenings and STDs and all this other stuff is nothing more than window dressing. And you'd know that if you've ever walked into one of these places, which I had once. Many years ago in a previous life, I had a girlfriend and we actually walked into one of these places to talk about options. Only there were no options in this particular office. We were separated. She was pulled back and she was essentially browbeat into terminating the pregnancy. She ran out in tears. She didn't say, yes, thank God. But she literally ran out in tears because there was no other options. They were not interested in discussing options or counseling or anything else. There was one goal in mind. So with that, I am very, this is absolutely amazing because I do not support pregnancy terminations at all. I believe life begins at conception. But this is a bombshell ruling that will open the door for many states to do very similar laws. Now, obviously, the libs were not happy about this. MSNBC, we're going to check out this little clip because they were not having any of this. They were absolutely apoplectic. Check this out.
And MSNBC medical contributor, Dr. Kavita Patel. Okay, Dr. Patel, so give us a sense of what this ruling means for Planned Parenthood clinics in South Carolina, and if this at all will curtail women's ability to get care in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, Alex, it does have a pretty widespread impact on care. Maybe just helpful to say that there are many states, including South Carolina, that have already banned kind of use of funds for reproductive health care, specifically abortion services. So this was not a debate about whether or not that.
Now, let's be honest. Pregnancy terminations are not reproductive health care. They are the termination of reproduction. It's not healthcare. And you ask any OBGYN, literally anyone, is it ever advisable to perform a pregnancy termination procedure if the health of the mother is in danger? And any one of them will tell you no. The much safer option is a C-section, period. That is the safer option than attempting to do a pregnancy termination procedure.
That federal funds or state funds could go to abortion services. That decision has been made clear. What's at issue here is that clinics like Planned Parenthood, the majority of their services are for health care, cancer screenings, prenatal care, all types of health care. And here in this decision was specifically the ability to carve out Planned Parenthood as an entity from receiving Medicaid funds. So in essence, it's not just saying no to abortion very specifically, which it has already done. It's basically limiting access to a majority of general healthcare services. And just as you point out, it's not just for South Carolina. This decision paves the way for other states like Texas, like Missouri, other states that have already said that funds could not be used for abortion services to expand that. And when you think, Alex, that anywhere from 3 to 6 in 10 women get some sort of health care from clinics like Planned Parenthood in the Medicaid population, this can have incredible access issues. And frankly, it's a civil rights issue. This is really with the Medicaid law, when it was passed in the 60s, it was meant to try to begin to provide general health care. And we're seeing that eroded.
And we are not seeing that eroded at all. We're only seeing the pregnancy termination mill industry eroded. Because the way Planned Parenthood and other organizations like it operate, they receive hundreds of millions of dollars of government funding to essentially open buildings, pay staff essentially on the down low. All the purported purpose is healthcare screenings, STDs, all of that, of which Planned Parenthood does basically zero. Everything they do is pregnancy terminations, which is where they make all of their private revenue. All of it, essentially. They don't get paid other than by the government to do anything else. So the government literally pays them to open up shop, pays all their expenses, and allows them to profit wildly from what they really do, which is pregnancy terminations. This is not about denial of healthcare or anything else. This is about protecting life. It's absolutely amazing. Now, to get the other side of this, to get the flip side, let's check out Jonathan Turley on Fox News.
Constitutional law attorney and George Washington University professor. Great to have you here, Jonathan. So first, please preview this big Friday that we've got coming up on these rulings.
It's quite a finale if you stuck to the end, because you're going to get a lot of the cases we've been waiting for. Obviously, one of the big ones is going to be the future of injunctions, and whether in the birthright citizenship case, the Supreme Court is going to impose real limits on these individual district judges who are basically freezing the administration nationwide. So we're not going to get a ruling in that case on the legitimacy of birthright citizenship. But for the administration, it may be even more important to get a ruling on whether there are limits to all of these injunctions that keep on coming out of district court judges. We're also going to hear about probably my favorite case, the Mahmoud case out of Maryland. That's a case in which parents have asked to withdraw their children from lessons in readings involving LGBT material. And I think they're going to win that case. But for some of us, we're looking to see if the court will give a robust defense of parental rights. And parental rights often seem the bridesmaid and never the bride at a wedding. Many of us are looking for the court to really put some constitutional footing for parental rights going forward. Those are just two of the cases that we are looking at.
Boy, is that going to be a big day, and that'll be a big case to watch. Also, you've got the Supreme Court ruling for South Carolina in the state's bid to defund Planned Parenthood. This is Justice Gorsuch in that ruling, Jonathan, on the South Carolina Medicare ruling. Congress knows how to create clear rights, as the Federal Nursing Home Reform Act shows, by giving nursing home residents the right to choose a personal attending physician. But that is not the law here. What was your reaction to this?
Well, Planned Parenthood really got its clock clean today because you're talking about an organization that derives over 30% of its revenue from government sources. And the state is saying, look, you're providing abortion services as well as other services, and that makes you ineligible in our state. And what the court said is they can do that. And so if South Carolina can do it, you can bet other states are going to go forward and they're going to do it too.
Really interesting. Sorry, and not to conflate, but to the Medicaid ruling and the Justice Jackson dissent on that. South Carolina asked us to hollow out that provision so that the state can evade liability for violating the rights of its Medicaid recipients to choose their own doctors. The court abides South Carolina's request. I would not. That was Justice Jackson in that. Tell us what we should know about this, Jonathan.
Well, I think that that's what most of us expected from the oral argument. But what the court was saying is that there's no footing here, no clear basis upon which to bring that action, and it's not going to create one. And this, again, is a more fluid approach to how.
Absolutely. So we've got the Supreme Court absolutely shutting down Planned Parenthood, slapping them down in their ability to get government funding. If they want to offer pregnancy terminations, more power to them in states that allow it, but they will not get funded by the government through the back door to do so. This goes right back to what we've seen with this similar situation. It's a similar concept to what we saw in New York, where Zohran Mamdani shows up in the guise of acceptability and kindness and compassion. He's going to give away free stuff because he cares about people, when in reality, that's going to destroy all of the other businesses. Government-run grocery stores are going to destroy every other grocery store and bodega in the city, putting them out of business, destroying their livelihood, and then in the second case, destroying choice and quality for everybody else. The same thing happened with pregnancy terminations. They build it as, oh, it's compassionate, it's caring, when in reality, it was evil and murderous. It's the same basic underlying principle, just applied in two different ways. Now, thanks everybody for rolling up. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share Courageous Media with everybody that